My name is Kim Shores, and this is my husband Lance.
Hi.
We're in a mixed orientation marriage, and I'm the one who experiences same-sex attraction. We've been married since 2002, and we have 4 children. Our story kind of starts in an interesting way. We went to school together, but we didn't know each other. Graduated in the same class and everything. Had total interests. He was
Very isolated and loner and didn't talk to pretty much anybody.
I mean, he didn't even go to the school dances, where I was like
No.
total opposite. I was like big, huge group of friends. We always went to the dances. It was always so much fun. And then fast forward a couple of years to student ward. And so I'm sitting in church and I look up front and there's this guy who's the ward chorister who looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Which I didn't. No, I didn't. I was like spelling my name in cursive.
While he was, I feel like the Lord sent that calling to him just for me specifically, because I don't know that I would have seen him if he hadn't been put right in front of me during church. And during this time, I was in counseling for the first time, and part of the work that I was doing with the counselor was to help me get over my fear and anxiety of talking to guys, because I didn't feel comfortable talking to guys. I didn't have any kind of emotional connection with them at all. And this wasn't a way for her to approach like a curing of my same-sex attraction. It was a way to approach relationships in general. And it was something that I felt good about working on with her. So she had asked me, put together a list of, 3 to 5 names of guys in your ward who don't seem intimidating. And I just want you to say hi. Like, you don't even have to like go further than that. Just start a conversation, just say hi, how was your weekend, and see what happens. And then that is kind of an interesting moment in my life, because that's when I kind of had my first kind of breakdown. My best friend had just left for her mission, so I was feeling really sad about that, and very much trying to work through that. And then I started working on relationships with guys and being comfortable with that, and it kind of got a little overwhelming, and it kind of set me in this downward spiral. And I thought I was doing okay. I thought I was handling the depression okay. I went to a counseling session, and I was reading from my journal about some suicidal thoughts that I had been having, and I thought I was fine. I really did. And she brings out this little quiz, and she's like, "I want you to take this little quiz." And I knew, I'm like, oh, okay, she's gonna like gauge where I am on this suicidal scale, and I'm totally gonna beat this quiz, and I'll be fine. So I take this quiz, and she looks at it and she's like, you failed this quiz. I don't feel comfortable letting you leave by yourself. And that's when she took my keys and she said, I need you to call somebody whom you trust to come and help you, and get you some help. So that is when I had to kind of bring my mom into this situation. And so I remember sitting in my living room, I think it was my living room, on the floor, and you were on the couch, and I remember telling him I had something important to tell him, that I was attracted to women. And
yeah, and I just remember kind of sitting back and thinking about it for a second. And I thought about, our experiences and times together, and that I knew that she had told me she loved me and that I loved her. And I only really had one question. And I said, well, does that change how you feel about me? And she renownedly said no.
I said no. that was an interesting conversation. It was actually a lot easier than I had anticipated it being.
Yeah.
And then when we were talking about our future after that, it was easy for me to feel peace about having a future with this man. And now we're almost 14 years later and 4 kids. And it's been quite a journey for us, and especially through the SSA, because after that initial telling of it to him, I didn't really bring it up a lot. We were in the throes of honeymoon bliss, and then family started, and it just, other things take over your life. It's not as important to talk about some of those things, and I had good friends. I had my best friend had come back from her mission, and we both moved back to Boise at the same time. We were both pregnant at the same time, and I was able to have that in my life, have that close relationship with a woman in my life, which helped fulfill that need for me for a really long time. And then it wasn't until several years later when things started to kind of turn for me in that area of my life, and through several different kinds of circumstances, her and I were unable to continue being friends, and that was really, really hard for me. That created a lot of anger for me and a lot of sadness, and it quickly became clear that I had not managed my same-sex attraction very well. In regards to that relationship or any relationship with another woman, I had kind of put all my eggs in one basket, if you will. And so when that relationship ended and left my life, it was painful going through that.
I do. There was a lot of times where you felt very withdrawn, and you didn't want to feel as closeness, and I felt like I was always the one having to want to go connect with you instead of the other way. It felt like I was the pursuer instead of the pursuee, which made it difficult at many times to do that, and always feel like I was on that side. And I think there has been many times where we've been able to discuss that, and then we're able to talk about it and figure out ways to work through it, which has been very helpful and been very strengthening to our marriage and our intimacy and relationship.
The last several years, we really have been able to focus on becoming closer and better at communicating and talking more openly, especially me kind of opening up and trusting you with exactly what I was feeling and why I was feeling that way. And that was really hard to do because it required me to trust him on a whole other level that I hadn't really done before, and to be the most vulnerable that I have ever been in my life. Even more so than that first moment I told you that I am attracted to women. And I had decided that because I couldn't control my feelings and I was still in denial and I didn't want to give them any kind of attention, that I was going to make other poor choices that I had complete control over, and then I could make those choices and stop. And I mean, it's so confusing. It sounds ridiculous now, but that was my mindset back then. If I had said to my counselor, I don't need to make connections there, that's not going to happen, I'm attracted to women, let's just work on that only and try and figure out how I'm going to navigate my life now, I could have missed out on the best thing that happened to me in my life. I could have completely missed it if I hadn't been willing to follow the Spirit and do a little work that made me uncomfortable and took me outside of myself.